Folks, welcome into another episode of That Betting Show for June 13th, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Covers. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. Let's get right into it, Teddy. St. Louis takes the cup in a wild Game 7. Pay the man his money. That prop swap ticket that we've seen, hedge, do not hedge. Well, the gambler does not hedge, Teddy, and comes down with $100,000. And how about this? We'll get right to the hot topic of the day. The wild ride from the Blues from last place to first place. Binnington was absolutely amazing, Teddy. In these big Game 7 situations that are not in your own building, you have to withstand that charge. He was absolutely outrageous. And all of a sudden, the Blues took the lead on one shot from the point, dominated in the first period, dominated in the second period. But, Teddy, world champions, those Blues.
Yeah, let's give them credit. And, of course, St. Louis, not a city that wins a ton of titles. The Blues have never won before. Let's give them kudos and congratulations. Browns fans and Lions fans now have something they could possibly hope for. But we have to talk about the $100,000 bet that Scott Berry cashed. And let's give him credit for making the bet at great odds. And let's give him credit for holding on to his ticket despite what most wise guys would have done, which is hedge off it in that situation. I would have hedged off it. You would have hedged off it. He didn't care. He cashes a big ticket and gets a ton of publicity as a result. So kudos, Scott. It's not what the pros would do, but you don't have to do what the pros do in order to make $100,000. Well done. Good bet.
Exactly, Teddy. Every day somebody wins the lottery somewhere, Powerball, so it's bound to happen. With me, I would never have had the stones to do that. The first time somebody flashed me around 50 to 60K, I said, you know what? Let me take that, put a cigar in my mouth, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of this series as a fan. And then you're sitting there, Teddy, with that remorse saying, you know what? Why didn't I hedge? Now they're going back to Game 7 as a 2-1, basically a 2-1 dog, and I'm not going to get any money out of it. So kudos to the man for holding on to that ticket. Got a lot of publicity. We'll see. I'm pretty sure, Teddy, in the near future, we're going to see him with another large future bet somewhere else that we can have fun with. But how about this? We talked about it yesterday in Major League Baseball. We talked about two bad teams. We were expecting runs, and we were heading into the fourth inning, Teddy, with a 0-0 game. But 14 runs crossed the plate, and hallelujah, Edwin Jackson gets a win.
Yeah. It's not easy to get those overs when it's, especially with overs 10.5, 11, 11.5, when it's nothing going in the fourth. But Toronto, they have 6 in the fifth, and then neither bullpen was necessarily able to get a whole lot of outs. We expected runs, and we got runs. Bad pitching, in this case, trumped bad hitting. Even the Blue Jays, who are the Major League's worst offensive team, worst batting average, they scored 2 or less in 5 straight games. Not when they're facing Baltimore pitching, they don't.
Yep, we'll take a look at a little bit more baseball a little bit later in the show here. But, Teddy, it's football season time. Yes, as of course, we always know it's June 13th, but we're getting you ready on That Betting Show for Game 1 and Week 1 of the NFL season. Today, that season team preview is those 2019 Tennessee Titans as we finish off the AFC South. The Titans, Teddy, how about this? 60-1 to win the championship in 2019, 30-1 to win the AFC, and the team total now currently sitting here in DraftKings in New Jersey in 8 at a plus 110. Second straight year of the regime for Mike Vrabel. We all know you only go as far as your quarterback's going to take you with Marcus Mariota. He does get some weapons back this year, Teddy. Both tight ends, Jonnu Smith and also Delaney Walker, are going to be back and healthy. They pick up Adam Humphries as a nice slot wide receiver, drafted another talented wide receiver out of Ole Miss, and we'll see if that defense will be able to hold up. The one thing that's always tough is when you see that ticket, Teddy, 60-1, it looks nice. 30-1 to win the AFC. But the problem is they do play in a very good division. Not like the New England Patriots who get that run of 5-1 every year. These teams are going to beat up on each other, but it is an interesting look that now Mike Vrabel into that next year. We'll see if they can take the next step, Teddy. What are we looking at here for this team in 2019?
Well, this is the only division where all 4 teams are lined at 8 wins or higher, which means that no matter what the rest of their schedule looks like, their schedule is going to be tougher than the league average because they're not facing the teams that are aligned at 5 and 6 and 7 wins within their division and get 2 shots against them. That's not what Tennessee is. But you just rolled off a whole bunch of names. I want to ask our viewing audience, because it's a question, a legit question. If he hadn't rolled off those names, could you name 3 Titans besides Marcus Mariota? In my mind, this is the most anonymous team in the NFL. And when you have small market teams that don't have superstars and are fairly anonymous, those type of teams can be real money makers if they're any good, because the markets don't pay attention to them the way they do in teams that are on national TV every week. And a team like Tennessee has that potential. They were a decent point spread team last year. Of course, last year finished 9-7, plus 0.0 yards per play. They were dead even what they gained and what they allowed on defense. They were plus 0.2 yards per rush, a solid rushing team. Mariota, QB rating of 92.3, opposing QBs 84.4. The pass defense was pretty good, even though Mariota wasn't great. Finished -1 in turnovers and still had a winning record. Things to like about Tennessee last year. And worth noting, they went 9-7 against a much tougher than average schedule. This year, their schedule is still tougher than average, but it's not quite as tough as last year, where last year was literally, I think, one of the top 3 in toughness. When you look at what they did in the offseason, you like what they did in the draft. Jeffrey Simmons, a guy who would have gone top 10, but for an ACL, A.J. Brown's a playmaker at receivers. Nate Davis can come in right away and help that offensive line. Free agency, Tannehill, I guess, Mariota's got injury problems. So you're bringing someone like Tannehill to back him up makes sense. Roger Saffold to help the offensive line makes sense. I worry about the defense. I really do. I worry about the loss of Arekpo, and you think Cameron Wake's going to come in and fill his shoes. Cameron Wake's on the downside of his career. I'm not convinced he's going to do a lot. Adam Humphries can do something. Maybe if Corey Davis steps up, we can see the Titans with legitimate threats downfield. That hasn't always been the case in recent seasons. But on paper, this team looks pretty mediocre. They look 8-8, 7-9, 9-7, somewhere in that range. That's where their team total is lined. So at this stage, I don't have a strong opinion betting Tennessee over or under. But for a season win standpoint, but in a week-in, week-out basis, I do think there might be some pretty good value on the Titans coming out of the gate. They're not a team that's particularly highly regarded in the marketplace. They could offer an extra point or two a week in September, and that helps cash tickets, no question about it.
Yeah, we'll take a look, Teddy. 2016, 9 wins. 2017, 9 wins. 2018, 9 wins. Of those 3 9-win seasons, Teddy, only 1 trip to the playoffs out of those. We'll see what takes place. But we'll continue moving towards opening day in the NFL and also, obviously, going over the AFC. We'll continue that tomorrow. Segment number 2, overnight line movers, Teddy. We all know, SPRodds.com, the best place on the internet to check those line movements 24/7, 365. The Blue Jays line on the rise, Teddy. Taking a look right now, Marcus Stroman versus Enoa on the mound. Heavy ticket count towards Toronto in this one. The line opened up around 128, 130 and hasn't moved that much. It actually spiked a little bit earlier this morning, but now back in that 130 range. Total of 9. Do we see more runs here, Teddy, down at Camden Yards?
I wouldn't be surprised if we do, but the markets want no part of Enoa. We're talking about a guy that couldn't beat out Dan Straley for the final start, the 5th spot in the rotation, and Straley finally got dumped into the bullpen. He's given him 3 decent starts so far. Gave up 3 runs on 3 hits in 6 innings against the Astros last time out. The markets don't like him, though. They want Stroman. Stroman's got a good track record against Baltimore, and he's pitched at times fairly well this season, although the Jays scored 2 runs or less in 8 of his 14 starts, hence his miserable 3-8 record.
Interesting angle in this next one here, Teddy. The Tigers line is on the move, and I always like to say, we talk about Detroit, and when do you want to bet Detroit? It's usually Boyd or pass. Well, Boyd's going to be on the mound today versus Homer Bailey. Line opened up around 108, 115, depending on where you're shopping at SPRodds.com, rising to 126 with a total of 8.5. Now, Teddy, this line opened up at 9 as a total and then dropped to 8.5. Keep in mind also, this game is going to be played in Omaha, the site of the College World Series, but today going to be Boyd and Bailey.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that total get bet down. I don't know the nuances of how that field plays, but if you do, that may have something to do with the line move, or with the total move, I should say. But clearly they're going to back Boyd. The markets have been on Boyd all year. He's a 1 Tiger starter who's attracted attention. And look, last outing, 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, no walks. Guy's got 105 Ks in 84 innings this year. The markets love the starters who get the strikeouts. Homer Bailey, well, he's got 55 strikeouts so far this season. And he hasn't made it through the 5th inning 4 times his last 5 starts. We've seen money come against Bailey of late, and I'm not surprised that we've seen the markets favor Boyd over Bailey in a matchup of 2 pretty miserable teams.
Yeah, TD Ameritrade Park, Teddy, just looking at some current weather conditions. They're not bad. It's going to be close to 80 degrees with the wind blowing out to 11 miles an hour out to left field. And we'll see how that plays in. But an interesting game there. We'll see how it turns out. Let's take a look real quick, Teddy. Some movements here in the U.S. Open. Currently underway as we're taping right now. Leaders in the field right now. Scott Piercy tied with John Rahm at 3 under by getting underway today. Dustin Johnson plus 700. Rory McIlroy plus 850. Koepka plus 1050. Teddy, in this tournament, look, you're not getting that Southern California weather, the Vegas weather, or that Florida swing weather. It's going to be, 58, 59, 60 degrees, slight chance of rain up there and some windy conditions, 10 to 15 miles an hour. How do you think that plays in this tournament? And if you had to pick somebody, who do you probably ride with in this?
Well, so I had an opportunity yesterday to talk to Jeff Davis, director of trading over at Caesars, and he was a sharp, spot-on golf guy. And you know what he was talking? He was talking Tiger Woods. He's like, Tiger's live in this tournament. He's like, I mocked the odds on Tiger. You and I mocked him yesterday. And he's like, if there's, a Tiger at 15-1, at 12-1, he's live given this course. But the other thing that Jeff Davis from Caesars said that really stood out to me, he's like, this is not a long shot course. He's like, there's too many good golfers at the top. I expect a chalky guy to win this. Too many, elite golfers in very good current form to really allow someone from the back of the pack to make a run here. So he's looking chalk. One of the favorites. I don't argue with that. Do you, Donnie?
Yeah. No, I'm not going to argue with that at all. It's going to be nice, too. I always like the tradition there, Teddy. The U.S. Open does finish up on Father's Day. Like it's out on the West Coast. Because tonight, Teddy, you're going to be doing a little bit of interesting things we're going to get to in just a few moments. But I'm going to be having dinner when Tiger Woods tees off at 5 o'clock Eastern. Win-win situation over here because you know what comes up next year, Teddy. Right when Tiger probably ends up. Watch what you bet here on That Betting Show. Oh, yeah, Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Raptors, Warriors, Teddy, taking a look right now for some updated lines on SBRodds.com. 2.5s across the board. Seeing some threes creep into here now, Teddy. Total sitting at 211.5. Actually seeing some movement as we go on SBRodds.com. 212.5 showing up on the board here. I can't wait for this. If we take a look at the series prices still, as we know, those Warriors do need to win 2 straight games to claim another NBA championship. They sit at plus 230. The Raptors at minus 286. Game 6 tonight, Teddy. What are we thinking?
Yeah, sure. So, obviously the Warriors coming off a game in which they hit 23 pointers, in which they rallied from behind, and I thought the series was over. I tweeted the series is over and then had to eat crow on Twitter for the rest of the night thereafter. The Warriors came back from the dead, and that doesn't often happen in the NBA Finals. And now they've had a couple of days to think about what happened, to rest up, because if you're asking which of these two teams has less in the tank right now, obviously it's Golden State. There's a 5th straight extended postseason run. They're missing Durant. Looney might play tonight, though. I saw him upgraded to probable after 2 days saying that he's out for the rest of the playoffs. Now he might play. But this is a Golden State team that hit 23 pointers. Teams are 60-11 ATS when they hit 20 or more 3-pointers in the regular season or playoffs. The next game, I was hoping I'd find something. No, it's just 50-50 in the database. There's nothing like a big bet against or a big bet on a team that drained that many threes. But it's a Warriors team that, they've lost twice already at Oracle in this postseason. And it's not to say that they can't lose 3 in a row, but to end this court, last game in San Fran with a loss, the markets aren't expecting that. Certainly you look at Klay Thompson's quote, he knows they're shorthanded. He knows they're banged up. I expect us obviously to come out and play as hard as we can. We're not even thinking about the future. We're just thinking about enjoying this last show at Oracle we're about to give our fans. And I expect our fans to be the loudest they've ever been, especially in the name of Kevin, and bringing his type of spirit he would bring to the fight and the competitiveness. I know our fans will do that because we deserve it, but more importantly, Kevin does for what he gave this team, this organization. There wouldn't be banners if it wasn't for his presence. So we expect our crowd to be loud. I believe that. The crowd will be loud. Whether that's enough for Golden State, I don't think they hit another 23s tonight. They haven't been the better team in this series. And it's a matter of, is Toronto mentally strong enough to overcome their collapse? That, to me, is the handicap. I know what to expect from Golden State. They're going to fight hard. They're not as good as they've been during these recent championship runs. If Toronto brings their A game, they can win. But Toronto has to actually close it out to do that. And you have to worry about the Raptors' mentality. If they have a 5-point lead with 3 minutes left, can they do it? Certainly, their Game 5 collapse will be heavy on their minds if they're in a similar situation at any point tonight or in a potential Game 7.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, we know the 4th game is always the hardest. You're right, that last game at Oracle here. And the fan and me, Teddy, and the fan and a lot of people out here, just give me a Game 7. It's a lot of fun to watch, same as it was last night for the Blues and also the Bruins. We'll keep in mind. We'll get you going. And, hey, look, if we do have another win, tomorrow we'll be able to preview Sunday night's Game 7. How about this one, Teddy? Late night first-place teams trade punches in the state of California. All eyes might be on the NBA Finals game, but you got the Cubs and the Dodgers. Dodgers favored by 167 with a total of 8. It's going to be Lester and Kershaw on the mound out west here, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers had been 17-0 in Kershaw's previous 17 starts until his last start at San Francisco. And Kershaw pitched great, but they lost 2-1. The offense wasn't there. And the Dodgers finally lost. And now they're 17-1 in Kershaw's last 18 starts. Not a guy that's easy for me to bet against. But we talk about Kershaw and Lester, Kershaw and Lester, Kershaw and Lester. This game's going to be decided by the two bullpens, and both bullpens have had issues, big issues. It's Joe Kelly bobblehead night tonight, and Kelly's got a 7.59 ERA. Oops. Dodgers 4.34 ERA from the bullpen, bottom half of the NL. Cubs 4.30 ERA, bottom half of the NL. Dodgers 23 losses this season. 13 of those have bullpen losses. Their starters combined have only lost 10 games. The Cubs obviously just signed Kimbrel, but Kimbrel's not going to be there not till next month. Morrow's still out following elbow surgery, and Strop, is real dicey, especially when you're talking about a lineup of this caliber. So we've seen both bullpens get slapped around of late, and even with these two starting pitchers, I don't trust the Pens. I'm looking at this game over the total. We are talking about two pretty darn good lineups.
And if you haven't noticed here by Teddy, by taking a look at his face when he's doing everything today, going through very serious, he's got his poker face on, because we're going to talk a little bit of poker from a Vegas perspective. Our own Teddy Covers bluffing his way to a bracelet. Taking a look here what Teddy's going to do. Now, look, the Superbook, Teddy, posting you 75-1 odds to take down the senior no-limit champion. Give the people an insight of what's about to take place shortly today and how you're going to cash in.
Are there really odds on me?
No, I made them up. I
Superbook?
called the sports book and let it be known.
Yeah, exactly. There's no odds. I mean, there at one point there was for some tournament or other. 75-1 is very, very short. I'm probably dead money to win it. I don't think I can win a final table. I cashed in this event last year. Now I'm 51, so and the senior event is the one event you want to play in, because there's a lot of dead money. I'll just put it that way. No pun intended. But I'm not a great poker player. I'm a pretty good poker player, and I feel like this is the one positive expectation tournament that I have in the World Series. I'll take my shot at it. Again, last year I finished, I forget, 5-something. I don't know what it was, 500 and something. My buddy finished 14th. I had a piece of him, so that was nice. But 75-1 to take down the bracelet? No, I ain't taking down the bracelet. That's a bad bet. That being said, if I'm alive tomorrow at this time in the tournament, it's a 4-day event. If I'm alive tomorrow, I will not be on the show, Donnie. You can do it yourself. Damn it. And we'll give you the story on Monday.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun. I was just going to tell the people that, to say, if you don't see Teddy tomorrow, that's actually not bad news. That's good news for Teddy, because he'll be cashing some tickets there, and we can certainly go through it. But you're going to have a lot of fun there, Teddy. Good luck. Everybody out there wishing you luck on this one. And if you aren't here tomorrow, better get some vibes there through Twitter to let us know as you're moving table to table, moving up. That'll do it today for That Betting Show for June 13th, 2019. NBA Finals Game 6. We'll preview it all tomorrow if we do have a Game 7. Thank you for tuning in. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Safransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at RightSide VP. Good luck, Teddy. And everybody else out there, catch those tickets tonight.